Greetings. Today in front of you is not a Laserdisc like it usually is, but it's another one of my most cherished hobbies, which are old Apple computers. Actually pretty much everything Apple that is sort of vintage. So in front of you today is the last generation of the Powermac G4. This is the MDD mirror drive doors version from the year 2003, just before they released the G5. The reason I love this computer to death is because this is the last Powermac that can do a dual boot. So you can have OS9, aka the classic OS, and OSX of course. So this model is 1.25 GHz single G4 processor, and let me show you inside of it. It opens brilliantly. So let me just this is the beautiful innards of the G4. So what do we all have here? Right here, this is the Powermac airport card, or actually just Apple airport card. It's a Wi-Fi B, so it's quite old, but because I have an older type of airport base station, it works perfectly with it, so it can connect to the internet wirelessly without any glitches. Right here, that's the CPU, that's the big heatsink that covers it, and right there are the 4 RAM modules. This computer takes maximum of 2 GB of PC 2700 DDR memory, and so this one is maxed out. It's at 2 GB. So what is there next? As you can see right here, those are the optical drives. One of course has an optical drive in it, one is empty. Maybe at a certain point I will fill it up with another one. But yeah, it's a DVD writer. He does all the good stuff, so we're pleased with that. That's the big power supply, and right there are the 2 IDE hard drives. Both are 75 GB, and one of the hard drives is OSX 10.4 Tiger, and one is 9.22 OS9, so all classic OS, and they work in harmony with each other. Right here are the expansion slots. So we have one AGP4, that's for the video card. Right now in it is a Radeon 9000 Pro, 64 megabytes. It's a good card for the machine, especially for that time period, but it is possible to crank the graphics up quite a notch, because this machine accepts pretty much most of the G5 AGP cards, except the ones with a very weird extra long AGP connection. But the ones with regular AGP connection, it accepts perfectly. There's one slight hitch. Just let me show you. I have a reserve card right here. So this is a Radeon 9600. It's a 128 megabytes video card. It comes from one of the G5 models. I think it was or the older 2004 or the early 2005 model, but it's a great card. It's give significant boost in graphic performance. This however is a HGP8 card, so if you just put it in and try to turn on the computer, it will not work because of the different pin layout. There's a very easy way to modify it. The simple mod is to tape off pins number 3 and 11. You can actually find instructions on it on the internet all over the place. So just on this side, pin 3 and pin 11, if you just use small pieces of electrical tape, tape them down, then slot it in, it works as like it came with the machine. So it's brilliant. However, one thing to notice: the 9600 will not work with OS9. So practically when OS9 boots, it freezes. The reason is one of the last video cards OS9 supports is this one, or the higher one that came with this machine. It's a G4 40i with also 128 megs of video memory. But this one, it will work absolutely brilliant on the OSX when you're running OSX. So if you're planning to purchase this one just to run OSX on it, it will work great for that cause. So really recommend it. Actually, eBay's flooded with those cards, so they're reasonably priced to get hold of. I really advise to do it if you want to run it on a G4 machine using OSX. There's also another expansion card in it. It's Belkin 2.0 USB card. The reason this one is actually especially handy is because the original USB ports, there are only 2 on this machine that are built in, are 1.1 USB, and it's slow as shit. It is really slow. So this one really is enough. It really saves you a lot of time to put it in that way. One thing, OS9, it will recognize the card, it will use it, but it will use it only at USB 1.1 speed, because apparently there were never actually any support of USB 2.0 for the classic OS. So that's pretty much for the innards of the gorgeous Powermac G4. Let me just show you the back of it. I wish all computers were as simple as this one. So right here are the ports. So as you can see, USB 2.0. That's the video card, 1 DVI, 1 ADC, aka the Apple Display connector, and 2 USB 1.1, 2 Firewire 400s, gigabit Ethernet, and there's actually still a modem connection on it. Then there is audio in, audio out, and a connection for Apple proprietary speakers. So that's about it. After the jump cut, I show you the machine booting up. Alright, welcome back. So right now I'm going to boot up the machine. The reason you don't hear any bong is because I have a special plugin installed to deactivate it, because the speaker is extremely loud, and when you're rebooting it, for example after a certain software installation, it gets annoying quick. So that's why I turned it off. So as you can see right here, this is the Tiger 10.4.11, so the last version of it. Well, let me just show you around a bit. As you can see in the top right corner, there is a Wi-Fi logo and it's active. That's because, as you can see right there, there's the base station I was talking about. So, the faithful about the smack. As you can see, 1.25 gigahertz Powermac G4 and 2 gigabytes of RAM. So here's maybe a question some people will ask. Is this computer usable on a daily basis? It's a machine from 15-year-old machine. Can it actually function? Well, it depends on the stuff you want to do. So for example, there is a third-party browser, web browser that is still supported. It's called 10.4 and it works quite good actually. So to show it to you, so as you can see, it can still load most of the websites. Of course, heavy websites, it has a bit more issues to watch them as smoothly as possible, but it still works, and to get the job done, you will be able to. And what do you then you ask probably about YouTube? Well, I'm actually using a mobile version of it. The only thing is, well, let me show you. This is how it plays YouTube videos. It's very old school. It pops up launch application. So of course this one will use QuickTime. And actually, just turn the sound off just in case. So one of my favorite channels, LGR, it runs the stream in 3GP. So if you remember very old phones, pre-smartphone era, these are the video files they were able to play. And well, they're small and there's no way they can be zoomed good. Like, as you can see, it's quite blurry, quite pixelated. But yeah, at least it works. So if you really need to check out something, you can do it. So what else? Well, usually this machine struggles to play HD videos, except when it's in certain video format. So pretty much it suffers in MP4, MKV, MOV, so all the more current movie formats, it struggles with them. But as I discovered, with AV, it plays them perfectly. Let me just show you. This is a 720p video because the monitor supports maximum of 720p. But yeah, as you can see, it works as smooth as silk. So that's pretty great. And then there are of course many dedicated applications that were designed for this machine. Professional applications that are still being used by many people today because they never got any good equivalents on modern Apple computers that are around Intel. But yeah, so if you really need a computer like for text processing, maybe some light video editing, kind of stuff, it will do it still, because back in the day it was an extremely powerful machine and it cost a pretty penny back in the day. So after this I will show you the OS9. So right now we're gonna boot into Classic OS OS9. I'm doing it always the correct and easy way. So I'm going into System Preferences, Startup Disk, it loads up. And here it is, Mac OS 9.2.2. Press restart. So the main thing is to use it like I'm using it is for a ton of retro computer games. I'm talking about many that were released on OS9 and earlier Mac Classic OS, because it works brilliantly on this machine. And of course some titles and many software applications that were released on 10.4 and for earlier OSX versions. So right here you are seeing OS9 loaded up. So about this computer, As you can see, it shows 1.99 gigabytes of memory, OS 9.2.2, and if I go even further it will show the CPU and all the good stuff. So OS 9, this OS has been dead for, let's say, from 2003, because in 2003 last couple of applications came for it, like for example the newer QuickTime version, etc. But for older apps and actually for basic web browsing it's still usable, because it has also a third-party web browser made by the same people who made 10.4 Fox for the OSX PowerPCs. It's called ClassZilla. So this one also will do basic web browsing. To show it, here's one of my favorites, and of course the favorite of many vintage Mac enthusiasts, Macintosh Garden, pretty much a database of most software applications and many of games which can be downloaded, burned on a CD or put on a floppy drive and then run on this machine. Pretty sweet. So as you can see, it loads flawlessly. Of course there's the same thing. It's, this browser is focused mainly on mobile versions of the websites. As you can see. So it's pretty cool. Very usable. For basic web browsing. So don't expect video playback, that's a bit too much to ask from it. But speaking of video applications, we have QuickTime, the main media player, and I was able to get hold of a codec pack for it, and this codec pack made it possible also to play most AV files on it and to play them as smoothly as in OSX and also in HD quality. So it's pretty amazing that OS this old is able to run those video files. So I will just give you the same example. This of the same trailer. It's the Marvel Avengers Infinity War, and it runs as smooth as silk, 720p on a very ancient operating system. Absolutely marvelous, and it's a lot of fun to fool around with it and see to which level you can push it. That's the main fun part of it. Speaking of applications, so as I told you, I'm using it for gaming. Like here's for example Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the Mac version, very old game. Lucas, there's another LucasArts game here, Gun Frontiers, also an Episode 1 game, and I have many more. Actually trying to collect original releases because that's the most fun. It's kind of like console game collecting, because all the games really will just install and work smoothly. So very enjoyable. So this was my overview of the very last Powermac G4 MDD. Awesome machine, and a lot of users still to this day. Mainly a lot of retro users, of course, but as a basic machine it still functions. Thank you for watching. I will upload another video soon.